We have Dave, and it's Finnigan, right?
Finnigan spells Finnigan.
You got it. All right. So Dave Finnigan here on Fire Breathing Robin. He has a story to tell about many things in the past couple of weeks. First of all, he does a lot of stuff with green action and also with environmental policy. So we're going to talk about that. We also are going to talk about the COVID-19 epidemic in Florida, where him and his son got COVID-19. And we're also going to be talking about school openings, which you did a lot of good work with that, Dave, of passing a petition, hopefully to the governor. And I don't think he's going to do much, but that's par for the course in Florida, unfortunately. But Dave Finnigan, thanks so much for coming on the program. Greatly appreciate your time today.
Okay, happy to be here. How do we start?
All right, so let's talk about this, Dave. So first, let's talk about stuff that you're involved in. Can you tell the viewers a little bit of what you do as far as green energy and what you're trying to tell the viewers, young people, older people in general?
Oh, sure. Well, I have been working in the green sector for more than a decade. And most recently, I've created a book. It's called The Green Actioneer's Workbook. It's 230 pages, and each page is something that kids and the family can do, and it's in English and it's in Spanish, and then there's a coloring book portion so that the kids and the parents will be equally involved. And now what we're doing is adding games for the older kids. So there's on every 2-page spread, there's English and Spanish for the grown-ups, and for the kids, there's a coloring book and there's a game or a word search or something that will keep them involved, which is relevant. So we use the words from the story to make the game. So that book will be out within a month. And we did an Indiegogo campaign to finance it. So we got enough money to publish 500 books. And now we're going to get the books out there where they belong. And then my goal for 2021 is to sell 1 million books. And I think it can be done because this is the book that people have been waiting for. People go, I know I'm supposed to go green, but I don't know what to do. Well, this tells you what to do. And then we're building a website that supports the book so that for every action in the book, and there's over 100 actions in the book, for every action in the book, there's a whole litany of things to do on the website. So I'm saying that this is the Wikipedia of green. When you want to go to that website, you want to find out anything you need to do around the house, it's there. And we call the book The Green New Deal for Families. It's all family oriented. Unfortunately, a lot of people have aimed messages either at grown-ups or at kids. What we're doing is we're aiming messages at grown-ups and kids, trying to get them to work together. And there's nothing about climate change, global warming, or sea level rise in the book because we don't want to scare anybody. People don't act out of fear, they act out of hope. So what we're doing is creating a book that's all about solutions, all about how to solve the problem.
So Dave, let's talk about this. Have you spoke to any school districts or schools in general that say, hey, this is a good idea to have, a science teacher, a history teacher, whatever it may be, to work on these activities, and then they can bring them to their parents at home and say, hey, let's start this at home?
Yeah, there's a model for this. I went to 2,000 schools over a 30-year period from 1976 to 2006 with a program called Juggling for Success, teaching kids how to juggle using slow-moving nylon scarves. And we did that in 46 states and 12 countries. And I still have scarves in my pocket, and I'll demonstrate for your audience right now. Here's what it looks like. It's just right, left, right, left, right, left. And any kid can do it. So we could teach kindergartners through their grandparents. Well, the way it worked, and it was really successful, we'd start with a teacher's meeting in the morning. It's a one-day program. Start with a teacher's meeting in the morning, stay all day, work with every grade level. Every grade got a different piece of the puzzle. Then we'd have an assembly at the end of the day. And then in the evening, we'd have family night. And the parents would come in and the kids and parents would work together. Sure. Well, using that model, we expected to take the Green Actioneers workbook school to school and start with a teacher's meeting, and then have parents come in the evening and get everybody excited and sell the book in the evening, so that parents would go home with the book. So the family would take the book home and start working on it.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because of COVID, but actually it's fortuitous, because instead what we're going to do is offer this book to all the foundations and all the nonprofits and give them an opportunity to distribute the book and keep half the money. So the purchase price on the book is $20, and that's a heck of a deal for a book this big. And whoever sells it to the end user gets to keep $20. So we think that actually is going to help us, and that in the long term, sure, we'll go back to our school program, but for now, we're looking for nonprofits that want to make some money.
So Dave, let me ask you this to go on this topic of green energy. What made you want to get into this field?
I have something analogous to your growing up in Rhode Island. I grew up on Cape Cod.
Okay.
And when you grow up on Cape Cod, if you live near the shore, as we did, then every morning you get up and you go dig quahogs out of the muck, and you go tend your garden, and you eat the food that you grew. And there was no air conditioning. We didn't even know what that was, because we lived on Cape Cod. And so we lived almost off the land. We catch mackerel and striped bass every day in the harbor. And so I lived in balance with nature. My wife is from the Philippines. She grew up in a village where they had no electricity, no running water, and no paved road. So down here in Florida, she can eat off the land. So we decided many years ago that we were going to be as sustainable as possible. And so we've been sustainable much more than most people. I mean, we eat the food that we grow in our tiny little backyard. It's in permaculture. So permaculture is you just let it grow. And we go out there and just clip off bits and pieces and take it into the house and eat it. So we could live in balance, but people get carried away with the modern way and they don't live in balance. So what we want to do is get people back to balance. Sustainability is the key word. And so that's what motivates me, is that I really know that we could live in balance. August 22nd this year is Earth Overshoot Day. And on August 22nd, we will have used up all the resources from January 1st to August 22nd that we need, that we should take out of the planet. Everything after August 22nd is overshoot. We have overconsumed as a species. The overshoot day this year is a month later than it was last year because of COVID. Because of COVID, we didn't consume as much. We didn't fly as much. We didn't drive as much. We didn't buy as much. So when we think about that, it's all in the book. The book is all about flying and driving and eating and buying and calming down about that, not needing that new thing or to go to that new place. Particularly, don't go there on a jet airplane. So that's what the book is about. It's about how to live a sustainable and balanced life. And for me, it's just an extension of what I've tried to do my entire life. The program is not about blaming and shaming.
Right.
It's about let's get together from this point and work forward. And I don't care whether you believe the climate is changing or not, or people are responsible or not. Let's give the kids a clean, green future. So by working with families, we bring people together. There are several programs out there that take the kids and put them in a box and say, okay, we're going to tell you about how bad your parents have been and how you have to be against them. And then the kids and parents go like this. And the kids come home and say, Mom, we got to turn off the lights and we got to do this. You don't drive that big car. And the mom, don't you tell me what to do. I'm your mother. I brought you into this world. And so I think it's really important that we begin to talk intergenerationally. This is not a problem that's going to be solved only by the elder generation that controls the economy. It's the problem that's going to be solved by everybody. And my biggest worry is that all of the focus on going green has been on business and on commerce and on industry and on government. It hasn't been on families. And change doesn't trickle down from the top. Change bubbles up from the bottom. So what we're going to do is get people at the lowest level in our economy, that's households, to make changes. And once they make changes, then their neighbors will notice it. They call it the Prius effect. When Priuses first came out, if one person bought a Prius and they parked it in front of their house, pretty soon you'd see several Priuses in front of several houses on a block. Well, we think that the Prius effect is going to work for this program, that we're going to have families who are going green, saving money, letting their neighbors know about it, and then the neighbors will change. So now you got households changing, you got neighborhoods changing, eventually you got whole cities and counties changing, and then states change, and then the country changes. That's the way change has always worked. But for some reason, people think that if you just yell loud enough about climate change, be scared, be afraid, people are going to change. That's not what makes them change. What makes them change is the fact that they and their kids sit down together and decide that they're going to change, and then they change.
And this is Dave Finnigan here on Fire Breathing Rob. Dave, let's talk about this. I want to talk about the coronavirus issue. Now, you did have the virus. Your son had it. Did your wife have it also?
Yeah,
or no?
we all had it.
Okay.
We went boom, boom, boom. I got sick. I didn't know what I had, but I isolated in the bedroom for 8 days and nights. I had a terrible headache, and I had aches and pains all over my body. I never had a fever. And I never lost my taste buds. Yeah. So I lay in bed. My wife delivered food to the door. And then after I got well, she began to get ill. She's very active. But she lay on the couch for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And the couch, unfortunately, is in the same room with our disabled son. So he got sick. Well, kudos to Advent Health, because I took him to Advent Health to the emergency room. And I told them when I got there, I said, I'm positive for COVID because I had been tested. And I think he's got it too. And they tested him, and they came back like in a couple of hours, which surprised me. And they said, yes, we've confirmed his COVID. He has COVID. You have COVID. And I said, can I stay with him? And they said, sure. So they let me stay with him in the COVID ward in his room. I couldn't leave the room. So for 8 days and 8 nights, he and I roomed together in the COVID ward. And if they hadn't done that, then it would have been disastrous because of his condition. With cerebral palsy, he's like this all the time. You know, he's locked in. I know how to break that and help him to relax. And he also has, as I said, a colostomy, a tracheostomy, a feeding tube. I tend that normally on a daily basis. His mom and I take care of him. And so we knew what to do. And so the nurses were always saying to me, oh, thank you. We're so glad you're here. We couldn't have done this without you. And I just hope that other families who have a family member who needs to go into a COVID room, if they have a positive person or somebody who's been through it, like now, I'm a graduate. I guess I'm a survivor of COVID. And so now I don't have any fear of catching the disease. They say you can get it again. I'm not going to pay attention to that. Because the first time I got it wasn't so bad anyway for me. I mean, I'm very healthy for 78. So I would not mind sort of babysitting somebody who's got COVID, helping them to get through things. So I think that we've got to rethink how we structure our care. It's going to be with us for a long time. We've already lost 3 times as many Americans as died in the Vietnam War. Let that sink in. In 5 months, 6 months, we've lost 3 times as many Americans as died in the Vietnam War. Before this leaves us, we will have lost as many Americans as died in the Second World War. And I don't see on a daily basis a bio of each of these people like we used to do in Vietnam, where we'd say we lost this person and here's who he was and here's his family and he lives in. We should have vignettes of all of these people who are dying. These are valuable citizens, and they're not all trash old people you want to get rid of. A lot of them are young people. A lot of them are your age. A lot of them are kids now. And so we've got to treat this with more respect, and we've got to treat it as if it's going to be with us for a long time. And anybody who's going out into the world without a mask should be shamed. And I wear a mask even though I can't catch it and I can't give it. But I wear a mask anyway, and I think everybody should.
With that said, Dave, we have these people, and they're all around the country, in every state in the country, and they don't believe in wearing a mask. They believe this is a hoax. They believe that it's not as bad as the flu and all this other stuff. And we all know that that's silliness. That's total false information that they're spreading. What would you say to people that say, well, the president's not wearing the mask. I voted for the president. I love my president. If we don't like him, but besides the point, what would you say to these people that, you know, believe in everything that President Trump is, that he does is good?
Well, they're going to get sick, and some of them are going to die, and that's a problem. They, you know, are willfully ignorant, and to be willfully ignorant is really a shame. The information is out there; it's all available. All you have to do is look it up. And luckily, these days, we all have a computer in our pocket, and you can just Google: "Is coronavirus real? Do people really die?" And the thing that bothers me is that then on their deathbed in the hospital, they go, "I was really stupid. I went to a coronavirus party and I'm gonna die." Well, the answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. It's it's a shame. You can't cure stupid. You can just you know, live with it. But we have to start shaming people for not wearing masks. We have to go, "Excuse me, you're in a store and there are other people here and you should be wearing a mask," and we should be not afraid to do that. Now, my younger son lives in Thailand. In Thailand, they have 70 million people. It's not like a tiny little country. It's about 1/5 the size of the US. So 70 million people, 3,000 coronavirus cases and 58 deaths because they believe in their government and they took it seriously. They have a border with China. And in January, when this thing sprung up, the king of Thailand and the parliament said, "Everybody stay home." And they stayed home for 6 weeks. The tourists all left because they couldn't stay. Well, my son stayed, and he is now living in the lap of luxury because he's staying in a tourist hotel and paying 1/10 the normal price because the tourists have all left. Well, the poor country of Thailand has lost 1/3 to 40% of its income because they live on tourism. But they'll make it through because they are Thai. Thais are Thai. For the rest of their life, they're Thais. They are the one country in the world that has never been conquered. Thailand means the land of the free. So he lives on a beach with his girlfriend who's from the States, took her with him. They're very happy to be in Thailand where it's safe. They can go around without masks.
Wow.
They wear masks if they go into Bangkok or if they go to a big city. but anywhere else, it's not important anymore. It's all done. They're finished with coronavirus. They chased it away. Once there's a vaccine, the whole country will get vaccinated, and there won't be any people going, oh, I don't want to be vaccinated because it's a plot by somebody to do something to me. No, it's not a plot. If we didn't have vaccines, we wouldn't be here. I worked for the World Health Organization for a while, and we were vaccinating for yaws, beriberi, pellagra, smallpox, things you never hear of anymore because they're gone. And the reason they're gone is because the vaccines worked and because everybody got the vaccine. So when the vaccine is available, if you don't get the vaccine, it's because you're really stupid. And so the vaccine is going to work, and everybody's going to get it. I don't need it because I've got the antibodies because I had the disease. Yeah. So you get your choice. If you want to be in the herd, you either get the vaccine or you get the antibodies by getting the disease. Otherwise, you're not in the herd, and you'll get culled out, and you'll get the disease, and you'll get sick, and maybe you'll die, or maybe you'll be in the herd. But that's the way it works.
Dave Finnigan, can you just give us one more tease on the book before we end the interview?
Okay. Anybody in a major environmental organization or a bookstore who wants to buy a book for $10 and sell it for 20, this is the Green Actioneers Workbook. It's over 100 things that you can do in order to go green. It's in English, it's in Spanish, and it's designed for the whole family, and it opens up flat because it's spiral bound. So the kids can be coloring on one side where the parents are reading on the other side, and everything in here is connected to, or will be connected to, our website. So this is the Green New Deal for families, and the website is the Wikipedia of Green for families. You put those two things together, I think it's going to be dynamite. Thanks a lot.